The Season 6 premiere of The Curse of Oak Island begins with the brothers Rick and Marty Lagina driving to Oak Island for another season of treasure hunting. Marty, who has shown some skepticism towards the Oak Island legend in the past, tells Rick that he is now 70% convinced that something out of the ordinary took place on the island. Marty's newfound faith is due to the discoveries made in borehole H8 the previous season, which includes pieces of parchment, a leather book cover, and human bones brought up from a depth of 162 feet. On the island, the crew meets in the war room to discuss the agenda for the upcoming season. It is agreed that this year's focus will be on what Rick calls the Big Three: the Money Pit, Smith's Cove, and the Swamp. Marty also expresses his desire for Gary Drayton to metal detect the entire island. In the Money Pit area, the crew plans to hire Eagle Canada, a seismic exploration company, to conduct a seismic survey so that they can get a better idea of the anomalies present underground. The narrator explains that this survey will involve laying out lines of geophones and perpendicular lines of blast charges. When the charges are detonated, they will send seismic waves into the earth. Some of the waves will reflect off bedrock and travel back to the surface, where the geophones will convert them into data. A geophysicist will later analyze this data, from which he will be able to identify and locate underground anomalies in the surveyed area. Before allowing the Eagle Canada guys to conduct their survey, the Oak Island team has a seismic crew prove the efficacy of their service by performing a smaller survey in the general vicinity of the so-called Halifax Tunnel. The narrator reveals that this underground structure is 110 feet deep and extends northward from a shaft that was sunk 200 feet south of the Money Pit. The men of Eagle Canada, however, are apparently ignorant of its precise location. The name Halifax Tunnel is a bit of a misnomer, as it could apply to a number of tunnels constructed by the Halifax Company in 1866 and 67. Although the Halifax Company didn't record the location of any of their tunnels, one of these structures was discovered in 1937 by treasure hunter Gilbert Hedden. Robert Dunfield discovered another one of the Halifax tunnels in 1965, near the cave-in pit. And in Season 2, Episode 3, the Oak Island crew searched for another Halifax tunnel in the Money Pit area. Although the Season 2 search was unsuccessful, the Oak Island crew must have made a second, more fruitful search for the tunnel, which they neglected to disclose in the show. The seismic test in the Hedden Shaft area is a success, and the Oak Island team allows Eagle Canada to conduct a larger seismic survey of the entire Money Pit area. Although the operation is completed in this episode, the results of the survey have yet to be revealed. At Smith's Cove, the crew plans to have Irving Equipment Limited build a massive cofferdam, which will enable them to excavate the area without having to contend with the tide. This potential cofferdam is not the first to be built on Oak Island. Back in 1850, the Truro Company built a cofferdam around Smith's Cove, hoping to dismantle and plug the box drains which fed the Money Pit's flood tunnel. This cofferdam was swept away by a storm shortly after its construction. The same thing happened to the Halifax Company, which built its own cofferdam in 1866, and to Dan Blankenship, who built a cofferdam in 1970. The Lagina brothers and their crew had contractor Jeremy Frizzle set up an inflatable cofferdam back in Season 4, Episode 11, but it ruptured before it could be fully assembled. The following episode, they had Jack Nichols of Damn It Dams build another, more sustainable cofferdam. This structure survived for some time and enabled the crew to discover the French drain, Drayton's Cross, and a piece of the U-shaped structure first discovered by Dan Blankenship in the 1970s. Some believe that the mysterious U-shaped structure actually constitutes the remains of another, more ancient cofferdam erected by the people who built the box drains and the flood tunnel. This season, the crew plans to replace Nichols' cofferdam with a much larger structure, which will be the largest of its kind ever built on Oak Island. With this in place, the crew plans to fully uncover the U-shaped structure and perhaps find more interesting artifacts in the process. No mention is made of the operation the crew intends to carry out in the swamp this season. If history is any judge, however, we can expect Rick Lagina to enthusiastically pursue this operation and for Marty Lagina to oppose it. As previously mentioned, it is revealed in this episode that Gary Drayton has been tasked with metal detecting all of Oak Island. The team plans to clear lots 1 through 8, as well as lots 21 and 22 of trees and brush, so that Drayton may search these areas more thoroughly and efficiently. Drayton starts by doing some metal detecting at Smith's Cove, where he found the lead cross the previous year. This time, he digs up a scrap of lead sheet. Laird Niven explains that lead was once commonly used to patch up damaged ships, and suggests that this artifact is likely such a patch. Later on, Gary does some metal detecting on Lot 2, where he discovers a 1797 British 2-pence bearing the image of King George III. Sometime thereafter, he discovers a granite boulder with 6 drilled holes and an iron spike driven into it. He and Laird Niven both speculate that this stone once housed a ring bolt, which functioned as a primitive pulley. In other words, Drayton and Niven suspect that someone once used this boulder to haul a heavy object over land. This is not the first drilled stone to be discovered on Oak Island. In 1938, Gilbert Hedden discovered 2 drilled rocks, one on Smith's Cove and the other north of the Money Pit, while following directions on the Wilkins map, a strange document with a bizarre backstory, which we will have to cover in another video. These landmarks feature in a number of interesting Oak Island theories, including Laverne Johnson's theory and Robert Restall's theory of vertical shaft. Interestingly, borehole 10X lies directly on the path between these 2 stones. In the 1970s, Dan Blankenship and Fred Nolan discovered more drilled rocks on their property, and in Season 3, Episode 1, another one was discovered in the woods north of the Money Pit. After discovering the latest drilled rock, Gary Drayton does some metal detecting on Lot 21. Near the foundation of Daniel McGinnis' cabin, he discovers a bejeweled brooch. This find is reminiscent of the rhodolite garnet discovered on Lot 8 in Season 5, Episode 16. In the Season 5 finale, we learn that an unnamed gemologist had established the rhodolite garnet to be a product of the 16th or 17th century. Perhaps his new artifact will prove to be of a similar age. In addition to Gary Drayton, another crew member to play a prominent role in this episode is Peter Fornetti. Near the beginning of the episode, Peter brings the lead cross to the University of New Brunswick, where geochemistry professor Dr. Chris McFarlane uses a mass spectrometer to determine that the lead of which it is composed was not mined in North America. Later on, Peter oversees a deep metal detecting operation on Smith's Cove, conducted by Mike West and Andrew Gillies. This operation reveals the presence of a large metal object at depth, which is yet to be extracted. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to read a more in-depth analysis of the Season 6 premiere of The Curse of Oak Island, please check out the link in the description.